My name is Chris McMichael, and I'm a pastor in Tennessee. I've been pastoring since 2007, and having a scientific background, that has always interplayed with my sermons and even my hermeneutics, my interpretation of Scripture. And so in looking at Scripture, I'm always drawn to scientific aspects, mountains and rivers, and in the case of our subject, I've been drawn to botany, which is curious since that's not my training, the background being geology and not biology. And so what we're working on is a book called Redemptive Botany of the Bible, and it is basically an evaluation and a commentary on selected plants of the Bible, and we are evaluating about 20 different plants for their Christ typology. That is, how do these plants point towards this coming Messiah who we now today know as Jesus Christ? And fascinating enough, it's not like we're having to make anything up, because as it is, the book is currently 800 pages long. We have a biography of over 300 references and 2,000 footnotes and 5,000 scripture references. I felt like a solid notion. It felt like an honorable endeavor to help Christians or even non-Christians understand the botany of the Bible. We set about this work almost 2.5 years ago. The curiosity of why the scriptures are specific on some plants but very generic on others has always fascinated me and lent itself to a lot of study in the scriptures on plants of the Bible. When I determined to start writing this book, in essence, I was pulling on a thread. The research started with a broad understanding, and then as you begin to look at individual subjects, you pull on that thread, and research papers come and books come, and before long, you have hundreds and hundreds of sources. In researching the book, you quickly find that there aren't very many experts on this subject alive. A lot of the work, the heavy lifting, was done in the last century, 1900 to 2000. Men like Nigel Hepper, who's passed away, Michael Zohari, who's passed away, Yehuda Felix, who's passed away. These men did a lot of the heavy lifting. They were probably some of the foremost experts on biblical botany. So a lot of the research led to more research, and we say in writing that writing is rewriting, and I just coined a new expression that researching is re-researching, because every book you grab, every research paper you grab, there's going to be someone who has listed a paper you've not had yet. So then you go and acquire that paper, and you just keep pulling the string till there's no sweater left, or you become the knowledgeable expert in this field of study. When I say I have purchased every book on the subject in English, I don't think you understood what I said. I have purchased every book that has been written on the subject in English.
And those that aren't in English too.
And some that are not in English. So as a scientist, when you do research, there are those that research, and a great portion of this book has been me researching the existing research. But for me as a scientist, or with a scientific background, it wouldn't be a truly scientific work if I didn't get my hands on some of this. I have not been to Israel, and I want to be clear on that, but I've been able to acquire specimens of almost everything that we've written about in the book. For me, the most exciting has been the chapter that I've written on the spices, or what we would call today the incenses of the Bible. And so I spent the better part of 11 months researching and writing that chapter alone. And so I acquired every spice, every incense mentioned in the Bible. And I had to search far and wide. I've spent hundreds, if not a little over $1,000 just buying up samples and then learning to experiment with them. I have burned copious amounts of incense in my church. My wife has said, I have made the house in my church smell like Abraham's tent. And she is not a fan of ancient Jewish incense. Perhaps something that readers of the book will be shocked to find out. I mixed the holy incense that God commanded Moses to according to the recipe given in the book of Exodus. And I expected it to be wonderful in aroma. And I can affirm and testify that it does not smell pleasing whatsoever. So I had to account for that and explain, why does the Bible call it sweet smelling when I think it smells horrible? And then all we can come up with is God's ways are higher than our ways. And the first thing he ever called a sweet smelling savor was a burnt cow. And burnt cows do not smell sweet. You find out that principalized, what God finds so aromatic is the sacrifice. I think the other great why is why a book evaluating and commentating on the typology of biblical plants, and I would simply answer, because it hasn't ever been done. And I would loosely say, I know that to be a fact because I've bought every book ever written on the Bible botany in English. There may be some out there in Hebrew or one of the European languages I don't have access to, but concerning the English language, I have purchased every book ever written on Bible botany. We are several layers removed from the Bible. Number one, we're removed by 2,000 years of history. Number two, we're removed by 2,000 years of culture. Number three, we're removed by 2,000 years of technology. And so the Bible was written by people who lived off the land. As a modern man, we are so far removed from any and all of this. We have no idea the gospel truths being presented. And so we have to unlock the botany, unlock the phytology, unlock the culture behind this so we can accurately interpret scriptural meaning. So that's the work in a nutshell.